This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. It is Monday, June 2nd. We want to begin this half hour with a terror attack in Boulder, Colorado against Jews, demonstrating for the release of all of the hostages in Gaza. 8 people, most of them elderly, were injured. The suspect, an Egyptian man, is in custody. Aldel Hurd is more right now on our top story.
A man with a homemade flamethrower and yelling "Free Palestine" sprayed the victims with fire and threw Molotov cocktails. The attack occurred as people with a pro-Israel volunteer group called Run for Their Lives were concluding their weekly demonstration in downtown Boulder to raise visibility for the hostages who remain in Gaza. Onlookers rushed to find water to put out the flames and find help. The suspect, identified as 45-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon, is being held in the Boulder County Jail. Solomon is an Egyptian national who entered the U.S. 2 years ago and reportedly overstayed his visa. After the attack, the suspect can be heard yelling, "How many children have you killed?"
I'm able to confirm there are 6 victims, ages 67 to 88. All of them have been transported to local hospitals.
One of those victims was reported to be in critical condition.
I saw fire, I saw people falling and screaming and crying and tripping, and I saw the attacker have a Molotov. He had 3 Molotov cocktails. One of them he threw inside of a group, and one lady lit on fire from head to toe. And then the other 4 people were also injured and in a fire, but not as bad as the first one.
These shoots of fire, linear, about 20 feet long.
The FBI immediately declared the attack an act of terrorism. It happened on the beginning of the Jewish holy day of Shavuot, and just over a week after a man who also yelled "Free Palestine" was charged with fatally shooting 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a statement, said he, his wife, and the entire nation of Israel were praying for the full recovery of the people wounded in the attack. He blamed the attack on, quote, blood libels against the Jewish state and people. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Turning now to the Middle East, a new U.S.-supported humanitarian aid group operating in Gaza may represent one of the most serious threats to Hamas's ability to stay in power. As Chris Mitchell reports now from Jerusalem, some believe it could signal the last stand of the terror group.
It's called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, or JHF, a joint project of the U.S. with security provided by Israel. In just 5 days, this group has distributed nearly 4 million meals to the people of Gaza.
It is a tremendous and vital threat to Hamas's control over the population.
Jonathan Conricus of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies tells CBN News for nearly a year and a half, Hamas has stolen, stockpiled, and sold international aid to their own people at exorbitant prices.
The only thing that Hamas still has is domination and control and oppression of the civilian population in Gaza. And they do that through using international aid as leverage over the population.
Conricus says Hamas has manipulated the humanitarian aid to make it appear Israel is to blame for the lack of food inside Gaza, not Hamas. Just days ago, Gazans broke into this massive Hamas warehouse full of aid.
These are crucial times for Hamas, and I've been on record saying that I think Hamas will stop at nothing. They will first attack, they'll do information and disinformation, they will try to intimidate Gazans, and they will use all of their allies around the world, UN organizations, useful idiots in Western countries, and other entities that will do their bidding for them.
Early Sunday morning, Hamas claimed IDF soldiers killed more than 30 Gazans and wounded many more at a GHF distribution center. Global media outlets, including CNN and the BBC, ran banner headlines on the claim. The IDF says it did fire some warning shots more than a half a mile away from the aid distribution site, but said it didn't fire at Palestinians at that location. Later, the JHF released security camera footage from the time of the alleged massacre that revealed no shooting at the distribution center.
Hamas is doing his best, is almost to stop us from doing so. He's spreading rumors, fake news. He's trying bluntly and violently to stop the people of Gaza from reaching those distribution centers.
Meanwhile, Hamas is asking for several amendments to the U.S.-backed ceasefire and hostage release deal, including Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Witkoff calls the Hamas response, quote, totally unacceptable. And on Saturday, the International Atomic Energy Agency released a devastating report on Iran's nuclear program. It now has nearly 1,000 pounds of 60% enriched uranium. If enriched up to military grade, that amount of uranium would make 10 nuclear weapons. The report adds such a level of enrichment exists only in countries actively pursuing nuclear weapons and has no civilian justification whatsoever. In a rare press release on the Jewish Sabbath, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said in part, the agency presents a stark picture that serves as a clear warning sign. Despite countless warnings by the international community, Iran is totally determined to complete its nuclear weapons program. The international community must act now to stop Iran. The White House has reportedly sent another proposal to Iran after the release of the IAEA report.
And our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem to continue our coverage. So, Chris, with the report on uranium, does this put pressure on the Trump administration to force Iran to stop nuclear enrichment?
Well, it certainly does, Ephraim. I think the statement by Prime Minister Netanyahu, a rare statement on a Shabbat, I think puts pressure on the White House to make sure that that Iran is negotiating in good faith. The report also included that there had been nuclear activity in 3 secret locations. So what this does here in Israel, Ephraim, it actually gives more ammunition for the Prime Minister Netanyahu's government to put pressure on the White House in a sense that Iran cannot be trusted. They have to be verified. And even though they're right now, Witkoff has a new proposal to the White House, and Catherine Levitt says it should be accepted by Iran, and potentially it may allow enriched uranium off-site, monitored by international cooperation. But it's a very stark reminder for here in Israel that Iran can't be trusted, that it's broken much of its agreements over the years with its nuclear program.
Can you tell us more about the new Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and how it's impacting Hamas?
Well, called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, established, actually it began about in February, the planning of it. The whole design, Ephraim, is to make sure that the aid that is sent into the Gaza Strip goes directly to the Gazan people. And what it does is it bypasses Hamas, that has been using this aid for about 1.5 years to hoard it, to use it for its own population, for its own Hamas fighters, that is, and then sell it to the Gazan people to actually fund its own war effort. So this represents a clear and present danger to Hamas and any leverage it has over the people of Gaza. There's a saying that says, you know, you control oil, you can control a nation, but if you control food, you can control the population. So removing this aid from Hamas really does undermine the ability of Hamas to govern its own population, and that, along with this military effort inside Gaza, represents the possibility that Hamas is, as a governing entity, could be on its last legs.
Let's turn now to the U.S. ceasefire hostage release deal. What other amendment is Hamas asking for that's delaying this deal?
Well, one of the main things, Ephraim, and it has been since the very beginning, is that they want a permanent end to the war. They do want to release hostages, but they want the IDF to withdraw from the Gaza Strip. And ending the war is a non-starter right now for the Netanyahu government. We've talked about it many times. The aim of Israel is to make sure they defeat Hamas militarily, that it cannot govern the Gaza Strip, and also that they free all the hostages. So this is kind of a non-starter for Israel right now.
How much progress is Israel making against Hamas in its military offense in Gaza?
Quite a lot, apparently, and they're just taking over land. And as we've said before, they want to clear and control. They want to make sure that they're squeezing Hamas into smaller areas while protecting the civilian government and making sure they get to safe zones.
Busy start to the week. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell, thank you so much. We look forward to hearing from you in the days ahead this week. Coming up, a civil war in Syria. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warns it could be weeks away. Our man on the front line says it has already begun. Chuck Holton reports from the tunnel under Kobani. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch.
Download the CBN News app, 24/7 news from a Christian perspective at home or on the road. One place for all of your news. Breaking news alerts. Set daily prayer goals and pray for news stories. Read the most important news and watch CBN News Channel live. CBN News, because truth matters. Go to cbnnewsapp.com to get the app today.
Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The Trump administration is warning Syria may face full-scale civil war within weeks. Our Chuck Holton is on the front lines and reports the war on the ground has already begun.
Fighting rages across northern Syria, with Turkish-backed forces clashing with Kurdish units at the Euphrates River, while sectarian battles erupt in the south. All this as a new regime under a former al-Qaeda commander struggles to unify the country.
It is our assessment that, frankly, the transitional authority, given the challenges they're facing, are maybe weeks, not many months, away from potential collapse and a full-scale civil war of epic proportions.
On the ground, the battle has already started.
This is the Tishreen Dam behind me, and you might have heard about it in the news recently because it's been the scene of some pretty heavy fighting in this area between the Turkish-backed forces and the Kurds over on this side. Now, the Kurds hold the dam right now, and there's a ceasefire that just recently came into effect, which they're hoping will hold. The only problem is the Turks aren't abiding by the ceasefire, and there are still drone strikes and artillery shelling happening on a daily basis out here. That puts the future of this vital piece of infrastructure in doubt.
In daytime and nighttime, we hear the airstrike destroyed all this building. They never stop.
Syrian Democratic Forces respond by fortifying cities across the region, digging tunnels, building barriers, and erecting camouflaged walkways to evade drone strikes.
In urban combat, you don't want to walk down the street because you'll get shot. So what the fighters do is they break holes in the walls like this to go between buildings without exposing themselves on the street. And you can see all the destruction this causes. But look what I just found. There's a tunnel entrance right there that leads to the miles and miles of tunnels. And these tunnels have been built all over this area. Take a look down there. It goes way down.
The HTS and the regime Assad army, and even the FSA and all of these people, they attacked us by air attacks, and the Turks are doing the same. And HTS, with Jolani, we didn't change nothing. There's no difference.
The Kurds fought and lost over 12,000 men defeating ISIS. Now they say the transitional government resembles the very caliphate they helped to destroy.
I can't believe them, because they before now ISIS. When U.S. support the new government, for me it's so surprised. Why they do that? You know him, what he done before now.
We will stay fighting until we have a real farm that contains us all as Syrians, Christian Syrians, Syriac Syrians, Armenian Syrians, Kurdish Syrians, and all of us. It's a Syria, it's our country.
Dave Eubank of the Free Burma Rangers, a humanitarian group operating in Syria since 2016, stresses the importance of continued U.S. support to prevent widespread bloodshed.
The Euphrates River is the westernmost front line for Syrian Democratic Forces, and they're holding that very tenuously. And I think without international support, just because of Turkish air power alone, the Syrian National Army will push the Kurds out, which means the Kurds, the Christians, the Yazidis, other minorities will be slaughtered.
As the U.S. reduces troops in the region, Kurds in the northeast grow increasingly nervous and distrustful of the new regime.
Everyone is grateful and hopeful the U.S. will stay. The United States cannot solve the problem here, nor should it. But our presence has and continues to create a space for people to solve these problems. It creates a space where the Kurds, the Christians, the Muslims, the Yazidis are working together, and they're working together pretty well here in the SDF-controlled area.
From northeast Syria, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Still ahead, we've got your first look at a film that explores important events in American history. Stay with us. You're watching CBN NewsWatch. Welcome back to CBN NewsWatch. The American Miracle is an upcoming film taking you on a cinematic journey through some of the most important events in this country's history.
I came to persuade you to avoid these dangers.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
So, Michael, as you're writing the book, The American Miracle, did you have in your mind's eye that it was going to be a movie?
No. We must find a path forward where they will have a future that's very different than their past.
It just seemed like an impossible project. And I am very thrilled that I met Tim, and we actually decided to do this thing.
He will become the founder of a mighty empire.
The basic theme of the book is a series of stories that are incredible and very unlikely. And they are all happy accidents, things that help the United States. But the theme of the book is that a pattern of happy accidents is still a pattern. And the pattern here is one that indicates, as it says with the film, our nation is no accident.
So, Tim, why do you sign on to do the impossible, if you will, turn this book into a film?
It was such an important story. And my films have always looked for evidence of God acting in history.
Yeah.
And Michael trusted me, and I was very thankful for that. And we really saw God's providence in the making of the film.
Speaking of God's providence, looking at history, not revealing too much of what people are going to see, share one or two providential moments that you've uncovered.
Well, one of the stories that you see in the film is George Washington's first experience with battle. And he actually came very close to being killed. Washington had bullet holes in his cloak. He had 2 horses shot out from under him. George Washington surely has been raised up and protected by God to do a singular service to his country.
What was the challenge in making these stories and these providential moments come to life for you?
There's so much that most of us don't know about our history. And I think that's the thing that's very important in this film, is that this film is going to give the audience the basic understanding that they might not have gotten. And it leads us all the way through to the question of, is his presence in certain situations? And has he guided this nation with its founding, with these documents, the Constitution, to become something that no other nation had? And that's the beauty of what I think this film provides.
Whenever people talk about the good luck of America, how could it be that this series of colonies on the edge of the wilderness and the ocean on the other side, that those colonies would produce in one generation George Washington and John Adams and Alexander Hamilton and Benjamin Franklin and James Madison, and all of these titans, and they didn't believe it was an accident. Amazing story.
Done very well. Why is America a miracle?
Well, because it's illogical. And that kind of story, which was at the time embraced as an act of God, something that defies logic, that's the kind of story that we tell in the movie.
This film is really about identifying patterns of evidence of God acting in history. There's a higher authority, and I think that the film emphasizes the fact that in God we trust.
The fate of unborn millions now depends under God.
The American Miracle is in theaters June 9th. Stay with us. Your Monday Motivation is coming up next.
Introducing a brand new way to start your morning, the CBN News Quick Start Podcast. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m., get quick highlights of the day's important news. Then an in-depth analysis that goes beyond the headlines. Insights that matter to people of faith. Discover how God is moving around the world and here at home. Find the CBN News Quick Start Podcast on iTunes or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts, because truth matters.
It is time now for your Monday Motivation. It is first important to believe in God, but then it's critical to believe God. You have got to have the faith to trust His word and to trust His track record. He can't lie and He cannot fail. As the song says, He won't leave you and He won't fail. Let this truth jumpstart your week and your life's work. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online. That address is cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter. We look forward to seeing you come tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless. Thank you for watching.